my comments and my name is Dejan Kole from Amalipe, Bulgaria. My comments and suggestions are to Ms. Samuel. I'm very happy to listen that you speak about conditionalities, and Francois Lebaya also spoke about conditionalities. And my suggestion is to include Roma inclusion and the implementation of the National Roma Integration Strategy in the conditionalities, because until now, after the fifth cohesion report, all speeches about conditionalities are in economic terms. We need social inclusion and particularly Roma integration in the conditionalities. This will raise very high the importance of the National Roma Integration Strategy. Second suggestion is to follow the example of the ERDF regulation of Article 7, and my suggestion is to include similar point to define share for integrated actions in marginalized communities in the new ESF regulations. It is good that you include 20% for social inclusion, but please go ahead one step more and include share for integrated actions for marginalized communities. Third suggestion is, when you evaluate the National Roma Integration Strategy, to evaluate whether the national strategies include concrete programs financed by ESF, by ERDF in the document. This in your hands. And final suggestion, when you evaluate the new operational programs, please evaluate them. I know that this will be in 2 years, but please evaluate them whether they include points from the National Roma Integration Strategy. This is also in your hands.
Thank you very much. I have two questions. The first question goes to the representatives of the European Commission. As mentioned in the April communication, in spring 2012, we'll have an assessment of the national strategies in all member states. The question that I already addressed Mr. Ciobanu several times is what will happen if the national strategies, and it is already clear that some of the national strategies do not comply with the minimum standards that the communication give. What will happen with these strategies? Are they going to be changed? Is the Commission committed to make pressure, not only to invite the member states to make these changes? And the second, which is rather a comment related to what Mrs. Gönz mentioned, is that we, coming from an NGO, and by the way, I come from Romani Cris from Romania, coming from an NGO with experience in dealing with human rights abuses at local level, we experience the situation when local municipalities will discriminate against Roma, and then the national government will come with solutions that will actually follow the discrimination that was already taken. And I'll just give you a short example of Myanmar, where a community, Roma community there, they were segregated by a wall that the mayor built it. And what will happen, and this is in 2012, the National Agency for Roma, and I'm glad that Mr. Dinga is here present, and also the Romanian government, they decided to invest in this local community, but still the wall is there. So the question is, when is the starting point of the solutions that you, Mr. Gönz, given us? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Recep Aliciupi from the Ministry of Education from Macedonia. I would like to put one comment on the issue, are the Roma benefits from the European policies, which is topic of this discussion. I would say that from political aspect, we have a progress. That progress is shown today. We are here and speaking about the strategies for Roma inclusion. All this is good, and I'm happy to hear that the Commission, that the European Union also in their programs is putting a target, the Roma. But what happens with those countries who are not EU members and are outside of this? Just to remind you that we have over 4 million Romas in the Western Balkan countries, and they cannot use all these funds. So it is important, the Commission, to have this in mind, and to use the experience that all these countries have, because they are part of the decade for inclusion of Roma and have very good policies and best practices, and to try to answer on the issue why the EU countries till now didn't use so much from the available funds. It is very important the countries, the members from the EU, to have Roma in their administrations, in their ministries. Željko mentioned that there are very good, educated young Roma. So the system should absorb all these young Roma who are well educated in the system in order to start the process. This happened in Macedonia, happened in other countries in the region, and it showed as a positive practice. Thank you.
Yep. My name is Jens Wandel. I work for UNDP's development program based in Bratislava. As a co-founder of the Roma Decade, we have had most recently excellent working relationship with the EU, the World Bank and OSI, in particular around establishing monitoring and common data set among both the EU countries and the candidate countries. But the point I want to make and the comment I want to make is that I would like to raise and reinforce the issue mentioned by Kinga Gönc. That is that from where we stand, to link the national strategies and really make a dent in the employment side and in the housing side, we need to find a way of creating, as you put it, more complex local solutions. And that also means that we need to find a way to be much more complex in the funding. And we would like to add an aspect saying maybe complex, but maybe also more sustainable. There's a lot of green going on inside the EU, and that needs to come through the interventions we make. So in short, as can be seen from the movie, that elements of what we have to do at the local level are inherently developmental in nature. And the question is then, how can we make sure on a sustained basis that activities that are taking place inside EU and with the candidate countries are both local and they're complex, they're flexible, and they're well monitored over time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is David Mark. I'm from the Roma Civic Alliance from Romania, a network of NGOs, Roma NGOs. I have two questions, one rather directed to the respected members of the European Parliament. Obviously, the Commission is already involved in the whole issue of adopting the national strategies and on basically monitoring them and assessing their quality. But my question is, how does the European Parliament intend to go about this? Because obviously the European Parliament also has instruments through which it can assess the quality of our of national strategies across the EU. And I'm asking this particularly because we need to be aware that there is quite a lack of political will at national level to adopt strategies with budgets, with targets, with objectives. So that's one question. And the second question, kind of reaction to the issue of the local level. If we assume that the governments will adopt good strategies, there is really a lack of political will at local level, and we experienced this during our campaigning on the census in Romania. The reality is that local authorities will probably not even know about these strategies, that communities don't even know about the strategies. So what can we, what are the instruments or what can we set up in order to activate those communities to actually to press for the implementation of these policies? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll start with the question put by the Bulgarian colleague. And thank you for your positive comments and thank you for your suggestions. You talked about conditionality and you welcomed it. I'm very happy to hear your view on that. I want to say that we already have, if you look at the general regulation and you go to the annex, you will find that it's a precondition for countries to have to prove to us that they have a good Roma strategy before we channel any money to them. So the conditionality is already there in the regulation. You also suggested that we should earmark some money, as in the ERDF regulation, for marginalized communities. Well, earmarking is a difficult issue, and we were very happy that, in the end, we have this earmarking for social inclusion, and 20% is quite high it's quite a good percentage. If all member states do something, and they can do something for Roma communities within this 20% that they have to devote, I think a lot of things can change. Because I can tell you, today only 5 to 10% is put on social inclusion, and it will require a big effort from member states to put to 20%. I want to take the opportunity also to say something which I didn't mention at the beginning, and it is related to some of the questions were put about a partnership. We want to have a contract signed with each member state from the beginning during the programming period, and in this contract we will agree on certain conditions, and we will agree on milestones to be reached, and we will be following very closely, I assure you, what is done within this partnership contract. And what is even more important is that we want this partnership contract to be to have involved in its preparation all the partners. So we are strengthening in the new regulation partnership. We are strengthening, in fact, partnership has been there all the time for cohesion policy, but what we want to do is to strengthen its implementation, because we see that the implementation varies grossly between countries. Some countries, especially the Nordic countries, have a tradition of dialogue, not only with social partners, but with civil society. In others, it's not like this. And what we are proposing in our regulation is to have a code of conduct. And this code of conduct will secure a minimal representation. And we're hoping there that the interests of Roma communities will be taken into account, and that they will be have a say in this partnership when this contract is signed with the member states. I know that there are countries who are not very happy with our suggestion for this code of conduct, but we are counting very much also on Parliament and to do that.
I would reply briefly to what Mrs. Matake asked and what the Macedonian, the colleague from the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia has answered. Let me be correct until the end. The question, what will happen if one or more national strategies will not entirely comply with the recommendations or address all the issues that are suggested by the Commission in its April communication? I think there is little mystery in this, and the follow-up, it's a normal thing. We are also in a policy dialogue with this EU framework. The Commission will address these issues, these shortcomings, and will make recommendations. Now, how it will frame the recommendations is also to be discussed, can also be discussed at length. But, of course, there will be a reaction from the European Commission, and very likely the member states concerned will be invited to revise their national strategies in the light of these recommendations. And to address the question asked by the colleague from the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, we are aware of the situation of the candidate countries and the Western Balkan countries. This is why the communication has already addressed the situation of these countries and had a set of messages addressed to these countries. And we will continue to address this problem also in the future. But we have to acknowledge the political and legal situation that is particular to the candidate countries and the countries from the Western Balkans. And the main frame for reference as enlargement countries remains the enlargement process. But we will address in the EU framework the policy issue, which or the policy set of issues which are relevant for the economic and social integration of Roma people and for non-discrimination. Thank you very much.
Yes, the political will is one of the major questions. Many of you mentioned this. But we see that governments are sometimes adopting policies which are explicitly or implicitly discriminatory, and we definitely expect the Commission to intervene in this situation on the national level. If it happens on the community level, it is more difficult than NGOs with watchdog function are very important, also human rights NGOs in that sense, and we hope that there will be an improvement based on these strategies. Just some more aspect. I just wanted to mention that the movie what we saw from you is clearly showing that in these communities there is no absorption capacity from the very beginning. There are assistance which is needed. And there was a question about the EP's role. We are expecting the Commission to report back to the EP about the national strategies and also later on about the monitoring and implementation. So I finish in the midst of the sentence.
Bueno, yo me gustaría que no el tema de los fondos estructurales que lleguen a los territorios y a donde es
going
necesario.
to the territories. What I want to say is that in Spain, one of our goals in our strategy is for the structural funds and the ERDF, Article 7, which has been quoted, actually reaches the places in Spain where it's needed. Our experience is excellent with national level funding. We have an anti-discrimination program and a fund attached to that. We have a specific operator working on the anti-discrimination campaign. It's a body that works for the Roma, and it's been a very good experience, a good practice. Now, with the ERDF program, which a lot of you will know, we need that to be extended to the various places like autonomous communities and areas where they have projects that are actually in operation. So we need to have regular meetings with the administrative authorities who manage these funds so that we can bring up the local level to the national level. We need to measure what's going on. We need to measure levels of involvement in the programs. And as has been said, we need to have a mixture of these programs which are used for the general population in Spain and also for the gypsies in Spain, so that they can benefit from the structural funds, which is our aim in this whole strategy.